What's up, everybody? Thanks to you, the viewers, for voting. Today, we actually have our first Gen 5 Pokemon here on False Swipe Gaming. And surprisingly, it's not one of the starters, although we'll probably get to that, I'm sure. Nope, because this time we have Volcarona. This solar deity has been revered since it debuted in Generation 5, where you find it while exploring some ruins, while also chasing Team Plasma. Now, it's based on many things, but mostly the Atlas Moth, and as a result, has drawn cross-franchise comparisons to Godzilla's mighty Mothra. Today, though, we're gonna see how Volcarona functioned within the competitive scene. So, as we always ask, how good was Volcarona actually? And in this video, we'll be going over these competitive formats. The first thing that stands out about Volcarona is its astounding special attack stat, alongside one of the best boosting moves in the game, Quiver Dance. Day one, it seemed like the most broken thing on the planet, as it just mowed through entire teams after a single dance. But as the black and white metagame evolved, it became clear that Volcarona was probably the most hit or miss Pokemon in the entire tier, as it had a litany of issues. The next thing that stands out, of course, is its equally astounding quadruple weakness to Stealth Rock, which basically requires the use of Rapid Spin and predicates Volcarona's ability to do anything on the success of pulling a spin off, which could be tough given how good Jellicent was. Luckily, the spinners were quite powerful in black and white, and Sun teams also sometimes packed Magic Bounce Espeon or Xatu for further support alongside Dugtrio to completely deny the most common Stealth Rocker, Tyranitar, whose massive bulk on defensive sets meant it could even take a +1 Bug Buzz at high health. Volcarona was also amazing in the Sun because of its super jacked up Morning Sun recovery. Volcarona wasn't just relegated to Sun teams though. It worked well on Sand teams, which of course had the amazing nigh unblockable Excadrill. But sadly, Volcarona took a hit once Excadrill was banned. Bulky Starmie was a decent replacement, but it wasn't anywhere near as reliable as Excadrill. Volcarona surprisingly even found use on Rain with its access to Hurricane and boosted Hidden Power Water, providing good coverage for Dragonite, Jellicent, Terrakion, and Heatran. Having the amazing Tentacruel around to spin for it didn't hurt either. However, Volcarona's issues were not entirely related to Stealth Rock. First of all, it had terrible coverage issues. After its 2 stabs of Fire and Bug, it had to choose between Hidden Power Ground or Hidden Power Ice, which is basically the choice between hitting specially defensive Heatran and Tentacruel or Dragonite, which was huge. Plus, it still struggled against Jellicent. Now, this was slightly amended once it received Giga Drain in Black and White 2, but while it was now better at crushing waters, especially Jellicent and the new Keldeo, this didn't do much in the way of Heatran, Dragonite, and Garchomp. It also couldn't run every item it wanted to, and it wanted a lot. For example, it wanted Lumberry to take care of status from Pokemon it would prefer to set up on instead, like Ferrothorn, Jirachi, and Amoonguss, since it didn't have room to set up on much else. It also desired Passion Berry for the various water moves in the rain-infested metagame, or Bug Gem to cleave through Tyranitar and Garchomp with Bug Buzz after a Quiver Dance. Finally though, its base 100 speed was solid and outran the incredibly popular Choice Scarf Landorus T after a boost, but it unfortunately could not outrun 2 of the other best Scarfers in the tier, which were Garchomp and Keldeo, who in addition to hitting it really hard with their stab attacks, also packed the bulk and resistances to switch into it if need be. Even Mienshao eventually popped up as a useful Scarfer, thanks to its speed above 100, rock moves, U-turn, and regenerator. But it was mostly that above 100 speed that let it act as a true Volcarona check. Now, as per Volcarona's upsides, besides the ones that we've already mentioned, common defensive Sand teams often folded to it outright, as did many offensive Sand teams that used Landorus Therian as their Scarfer. Rain offense teams that used Scarf Politoed were often dead in the water, and Volcarona was just nightmarish against Sun teams. Plus, later in Black and White 2, Excadrill was unbanned so long as it didn't have Sand Rush, so spinning options opened up. Of course, if Volcarona ran into Rain with Scarf Keldeo on the opposing team, it wouldn't do much, and the same goes for Sand teams with Scarf Keldeo or Chomp, and Rain stall teams with Chansey were just immovable. Volcarona was so polarizing that it was dubbed the matchup moth for its ability to either completely dominate a team, very often from the beginning of the game, or just be utterly useless. But in either case though, it certainly left its mark on the black and white OU metagame. In Gen 5 VGC, since hazards and of course Stealth Rock just aren't a thing, it's no surprise that Volcarona is excellent. It's a fire type that isn't weak to ground, which can be crucial in the face of Earthquake, and of course abuses its signature Quiver Dance to pose one of the largest threats in the metagame. Its spread Heat Wave, slamming both opposing Pokemon, makes it even more terrifying. It partners terrifically with Hitmontop, as its Stab Bug Buzz destroys Psychics, and Hitmontop can Fake Out and Wide Guard, the latter protecting against dangerous rock slides, so Volcarona can boost and attack unscathed. Plus, it often runs Focus Sash so that it can take one hit in a pinch, and that one hit can be all the difference. Though Lumberry can be similarly key against Amoonguss' Spore and Thundurus' Thunder Wave, and Chardy Berry can be useful for rock slides, especially since Tyranitar's Sand could negate Sash. And despite being a fire type, Volcarona's domination of grass types means it fits well on rain teams. Plus, Volcarona doesn't necessarily need to boost to be a threat, and some teams forget this, doing all they can to prevent the Quiver Dance, only to be melted when it straight up attacks them, especially with Fire Gem and Overheat for maximum power. And of course, thanks to gems, a Fire Gem boosted +1 Heat Wave could incinerate both opposing Pokemon. Finally, Volcarona can support its teammates as well, using Rage Powder to draw attacks towards itself. It's a varied, immensely powerful threat, and that's why it saw such high usage. And Volcarona was such a big threat in the Black and White VGC metagame that to save on time for this video, we're gonna be limiting the placements for this video to top 8 of Nationals only, and of course, top 8 of Worlds. And I apologize if I butcher any of your names for Gen 5, Gen 6, and Gen 7, spoilers. Hayden Morrison reached 2nd at the San Jose Regionals, Zach Droegkamp won Fort Wayne and Madison Regionals, Randy Qua, aka RN Animate, reached top 8 at the Canadian Regionals, and Henry M reached top 4 of Worlds in the Seniors Division. Then in 2013, Chio Hwan Yeom reached top 4 at the Korean Nationals, Paul Hornak reached top 4 at the Utah Regionals, Devin Ingram reached 2nd at the US Nationals, Gavin Michaels won the US Nationals with Volcarona, and Barry Anderson top cut all 3 European Nationals with it, while Jordy P reached top 4 of the Italian Nationals, and Ben K won the UK Nationals with it. Then at Worlds in the Masters Division, Matthias Helmut reached 8 with it, while Ben Gold received 4th. And then in the Seniors Division, Cameron Swan reached 3rd with it at Worlds. So as you can see, Volcarona was quite the powerful threat in Gen 5 VGC. The defog buff was enormous for Volcarona in Gen 6, giving it an extra tool for removing Stealth Rock. The lack of permanent weather was also a massive change, as Volcarona definitely appreciated not being permanently chipped by Sandstorm, and thankfully rain nearly completely fell out of the picture. Then in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Volcarona even gained excellent Magic Bounce users as teammates, like Mega Diancie and Mega Sableye, to further assist in the anti-Stealth Rock effort. Bulky Starmie and Excadrill also made fine spinners, preying on common Stealth Rockers like Heatran and Clefable respectively, and being twice as useful with Diancie support. This made Volcarona more consistent as a whole, and less of a matchup Pokemon. Now sure, it did gain checks, most notably the fellow quadruple Stealth Rock weak Talonflame, but when Volcarona wasn't as boom or bust as in the previous generation, it wasn't so necessary to pray that counters to it just wouldn't show up, since it could take its time to remove them. As the metagame shifted more and more to bulky spiking teams with Ferrothorn, Slowbro, and Keldeo Mega Metagross offense thanks to both styles' consistency, Volcarona shone as it excelled against both teams, especially with how popular Scarf Magnezone was, meaning that by partnering up with Ferrothorn, it could easily be baited into locking into HP Fire, allowing Volcarona to come in and set up. Ferrothorn also came with the bonus of forcing Specs Keldeo to lock into Secret Sword, again for Volcarona to set up. Plus in this generation, Scarfers faster than Volcarona were really weak against the rest of the metagame, with the exception of Latios, who couldn't come close to KOing Volcarona and risk death upon entry, especially if Volcarona was staring down a Slowbro. Volcarona also ran Lumberry more than any other item, so Thunderwave, Clefable, and Toxic Heatran weren't a problem. And to be honest, it didn't really long for any other items. It was a tremendous Pokemon that no one lacking Chansey wanted to face, and with the generational shifts, Volcarona now possessed the overall consistency it previously lacked. Now as for Gen 6 VGC, unfortunately Gen 6 saw gems done away with, and Volcarona didn't exist in 2014, but in 2015 it did come back the next year, pulling its usual tricks similar to VGC 2013. But unfortunately, the presence of Talonflame and the monstrous Mega Salamence greatly impeded it, so its usage went down some. It also had fierce competition as a fire type, with Heatran and Mega Charizard Y. However, it was still a decently solid metagame presence, dominating the many common grasses and steels with moveset variety to spare, and its resistance to the new fairy type was terrific. In fact, though Heatran was generally preferred overall, especially on the Chalk Core, what set Volcarona apart from Heatran was its Flame Body ability and bug typing. Flame Body came in handy versus physical threats, especially against the terrifying Mega Kangaskhan, one of the most dominant Pokemon in VGC 2015. Since Mega Kang's ability makes it attack twice, this gives Kangaskhan a 51% chance of being burned by Flame Body. Volcarona's bug typing also helped because Mega Kangaskhan often often carried Power-Up Punch, which Volcarona resists. Volcarona could even survive at least one Double Edge or Return from Mega Kang, and some players ran stuff like Citrus Berry on it to make up for the health loss, or a Rocky Helmet to punish the double attacks. Volcarona also had the option to use Rage Powder to actively redirect Kangaskhan or other physical attackers' attacks. Lastly though, much like Volcarona, Heatran also did well versus Aegislash, but Heatran would struggle versus Landorus T. Volcarona is able to outspeed Landorus T and do a lot of damage with Flamethrower if you ran Flamethrower over Heatwave. A +1 max special attack Volcarona has a 68% chance to one-hit KO Landorus T, and because of all this and being a pretty good alternative to Heatran, Volcarona of course saw a great amount of usage. In fact, to save on time, we limited the placements to top 8 for 2015. With Volcarona, Amobum and Ayabum reached 3rd and 4th respectively at the Indonesian Premier Challenge, Luis Miguel Hernandez reached 6th at the Mexico City Regionals, Danny Hemchan and Mike Salisky reached 4th and 5th respectively at the Massachusetts Regionals, Kimo Nishimura reached 8th at the Utah Regionals, Sam Schweitzer reached 8th at the Kansas Regionals, Brendan Webb reached 6th at the Australia Nationals, Ben Piercy won the US Nationals, BIDC aka Hideyuki Taira reached top 4 at the Japanese Nationals, and then at Worlds Hideyuki actually managed to reach 2nd, using Volcarona in place of Heatran. His Volcarona carried Flamethrower over Heatwave, a Rocky Helmet, and Giga Drain for common water types in the meta. So as you can see, Volcarona was quite the force in VGC 2015. Then in 2016, the restricted Pokemon came down and Volcarona didn't want anything to do with them, so its usage dropped off a cliff. However, Barry Anderson still managed to reach 7 with it at Worlds, using a red card set that also had Whirlwind, a double phaser that could stave off the incredibly dangerous Xerneas, thanks to its fire typing resisting its fairy moves, while preventing Mega Rayquaza or Primal Groudon from setting up safely, and of course Rage Powder to redirect attacks. Volcarona would also help its own teammate Xerneas to set up a Geomancy, by either redirecting or phasing. Volcarona also beats Amoonguss directly if both players have their Rage Powder user on the field. So yeah, props to Barry for making it to Worlds in VGC 2016. Now on to Sun and Moon. Z moves made Volcarona even more utterly terrifying. The new Toxapex seemed like a nice would-be counter until a boosted Shattered Psyche just blew it away. Toxapex was a counter if Volcarona eschewed Z Psychic, but if Toxapex was dealt with, Volcarona had some other amazing options, including Firium Z to make up for the lack of coverage with raw power. It could also use Bugnium Z on substitute sets that had Swarm as its ability to muscle through just about anything with a spectacularly strong Savage Spinout. Volcarona could even use the 50% Pinch Berries, which would activate to save it from Ash Greninja's Water Shuriken, and also keep it out of range from Zygarde's Extreme Speed, which was especially useful if Volcarona wanted to grab 2 Quiver Dances. Defog becoming even more widespread with the release of Ultra Sun and Moon was nothing but good news. In addition to it being easier to keep Stealth Rock off than ever before, and with so many teams falling back on Magearna and bulky grasses like Tapu Bulu, Ferrothorn, and Assault Vest Tangrowth in order to counter Ash Greninja, meant that Volcarona was consistently able to switch in and smoke the opposing team without even needing a boost. With the main Scarfers in the tier being Kartana and Tapu Lele, and many teams eschewing Scarfers to begin with, Volcarona was a massive threat. Terrains also helped it out a ton, with Psychic Terrain blocking annoying priority from Greninja, Zygarde, and Mega Mawile, and of course powering up the move Psychic, which it often carried. Grassy Terrain weakened Earthquakes and kept Volcarona healthy, and Misty Terrain protected Volcarona from status. Plus, the Misty Terrain setter Tapu Fini was an excellent defogger against Heatran and Greninja, and could even cause havoc against Volcarona's nemesis Chansey and its stall teams with Taunt and Nature's Madness. So yeah, in Generation 7, Volcarona just keeps getting better and better, and remains OU. Now for Gen 7 VGC, Volcarona missed 2017 as a result of not being in the Alola decks, but came roaring back with great vengeance and vicious anger in 2018. Firium Z and Pinch Berries were obvious, excellent choices to complement its usual Quiver Dance or Rage Powder tactics, but it could also viably opt for Choice Scarf thanks to its immediate power, making for lots of potential KOs if it could just go first, such as against Tapu Koko. It also does particularly well against Mega Metagross and Kartana thanks to its resistances, Rage Powder, and Flame Body, as well as Tapu Lele, which it can outspeed and destroy if Volcarona is Scarfed. As a fire type though, it did get more competition from Incineroar as well as Zard Y again. However, compared to Zard Y, it's got more variety in its item use and support moves. It can also hit psychic types really well with its Bug Buzz, especially Cresselia, who is also strong in this meta. The Pinch Berries helped its more bulky sets with Tailwind and or Rage Powder to further sustain itself in the support role. And whether it was bulky or offensive, Volcarona was a monster within the metagame, and as such, we've limited its placements to top 4 of regionals, and of course top 8 of worlds for the sake of time. With Volcarona, Barry Anderson reached 3rd at the Malmo regionals, where he also used Jinx on his team alongside it. Jinx's skill swap was used to transfer Dry Skin to his other teammates for some waterproof shenanigans. This of course helped Volcarona greatly because it made it immune to water moves. And yes, I know I missed this placement in the Jinx video last week, so yeah, that's my beat. Anyways, Juan Pablo Nar won the first Costa Rica special event. Dorian Andres Quinones Valeos won the Lima Open. Emiliano Reyes and Diego Ferreira reached 2nd and 4th respectively at the Chile special event. Mitch Kendrick reached 2nd at the Perth regionals, and Matthew Greaves won the Salt Lake City regionals. And Arash Almaty reached 6th with it at Worlds, using Bugnium Z on his Volcarona instead of Fyrium Z. This Bugnium Z allowed Volcarona to really put the hurt on Cresselia, as a savage spin out from this Volcarona had a 37.5% chance to one-hit KO a max special defense Cresselia. So yeah, props to Mean for his great placement on the biggest stage with Volcarona in VGC 2018. Then in 2019, Volcarona's usage dropped, but it remained a smaller part of the metagame, despite the restricted Pokemon dropping in, whereas a lesser Pokemon would have completely fallen out of favor. In the Sun series, as Groudon and Kyogre battled for supremacy, in a Mega Primal and Z-Move-less world, Melvin Kim managed to use Volcarona to reach 7th at the Latin American International Championships, and Won Seok Jung won the Korean League with it. Then in the Moon series, Z-Moves returned, and that bolstered Volcarona's usage a good amount, with vicious Infernal overdrives crushing just about anything in the Sun, with of course Rage Powder and Tailwind being great support as always. Justin Burns and James Katsaros reached 3rd and 4th respectively at Melbourne. Jake Midyear won out of Collinsville. Alvin Hidayat reached 7th at Brampton, while also reaching 5th at Greensboro, where Brian Yom also used Volcarona to reach 4th, and Henry Rich reached 2nd with Volcarona at Perth. So with Volcarona's great usage and damage in weather, along with its double support moves, so who knows, maybe we'll see another Volcarona at Worlds. I mean, it's happened like 3 times already, so yeah. And that's it. So how good was Volcarona actually? Well, it's got monstrous highs and deep lows, as you would expect from a quadruple Stealth Rock weak Pokemon, with insane special attack and Quiver Dance. But as you may also expect, when there's no Stealth Rock around, aka VGC, it becomes even more monstrous and notably more varied in its approach. Despite its notable weaknesses, Volcarona is one of the most powerful Pokemon around, no matter what the format, and well worth supporting, as few things are as capable of hitting the field and causing GG to be said shortly after. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our first look at a Gen 5 Pokemon. And as always, if you liked the video and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe to False Swipe Gaming for more weekly Pokemon content. And for the comments, of course, I want to know, what do you guys think about competitive Volcarona? Do you like how high its variance is, depending on what matchups are present? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Also, thank you so much to our patrons for continued support of our videos, and thank you to everyone else watching as well. And follow my crew on these social media platforms, and that's all I got. See you next time, everyone.